Okay, Section 8, let's talk about display advertising and online display advertising. So banner ads have the potential to offer unlimited targeting, tracking, and measurability. This makes it possible to replace poorly performing ads quickly and effectively. Targeted banner advertising means serving the appropriate ad to a specific type of user based on a user profile. May involve knowing what web pages the user has visited recently, as well as whether or not they've made a purchase, signed a registration form, or took other similar actions. Tracking such behavior is somewhat controversial and opposed by privacy advocates. Again, what I'm kind of talking about there, as you guys all know, if you go to, let's say, Zappos, for example, and you take a look at a pair of shoes, you put them in your cart, but you don't purchase, you know you're going to be tracked around the web on all different websites through ad serving networks, showing you those pair of shoes to remind you that they're out there and you had looked at those at one point in time. So while banner ads may be targeted based on the overall profile of a website's typical visitor, more effective targeting relies on creating a user profile. So you have DART, the Dynamic Advertising Reporting and Tracking Program, basically made it possible to quickly determine which banners to present to the current user. Again, all based on cookie and cookie technology, which we're going to talk about in this particular chapter. Again, brush your mouse over most any ad, and for the most part, you'll probably see some reference to DoubleClick, because again, Google DoubleClick Ad Network serves up about 65% of all the ad calls out there. So basically what happens is if you, again, go to, let's say, the Weather Channel, and you see an ad for Chevy, and you click on the Chevy ad, what's going to happen is you are going to first most likely be taken to DoubleClick or some other ad network. You'll see reference to that. So the URL is going to first go there, and then it's going to be a quick redirect back to Chevy. And again, that's how DoubleClick knows you clicked, and then they're going to charge you for that particular click. Okay, now I want you to notice something here in the URL of Chevy. There is a simple looking URL, chevy.com/traverse midsize SUV.html, and then all of a sudden there's a question mark and a bunch of crazy stuff after that particular question mark. That is where we put the tracking code or the source code so that I know in Google Analytics who came from that ad on the Weather Channel and how well did they convert. So all browsers, just so you know, ignore anything in the URL after a question mark. So that's where we as marketers put our source or tracking code so we know who clicked on what banner ad and who clicked on the link in our email tests, whatever the case might be. So just so you understand how this works, guys, I'd like you to go to Firefox or Chrome and type in www.drakedirect.com, hit enter, and what do you see? You're going to see Rhonda's website. Now, I want you to retype in www.drakedirect.com, question mark, source equal Twitter post, and offer equals 143. Or I don't care what you type in after the question mark. Really doesn't matter. Just type in a bunch of random numbers and letters and symbols. It really doesn't care. Hit the enter key, and what are you going to see? You're going to see the exact same website, www.drakedirect.com. That's because everything after the question mark is ignored. Now, after you do that, if I were to go to Rhonda's Google Analytics account, I would see that I had somebody coming in with that as the URL. And I'd say, these are all the people coming in through my Twitter post campaign with offer number 143. And oh my God, look how well they're converting opposed to offer number 142. So this is exactly how we track our campaigns. Okay, and again, if we were to go into our campaign tracking report within Google, it would look something like this, where it would lay out all the different campaigns, July promotion, spring sale offers, and it would show me how many visitors hit, how many pages did they look at, what was the average time, etc. So this is where we would see something like reference to our Twitter campaign right here. Okay, let's go back and talk about DoubleClick again. So founded in '95, before DoubleClick started, it was pretty much like the Wild West out there. If you wanted to advertise on a particular website, you would more than likely have to contact them directly, figure out what their ad sizes were, etc. So DoubleClick really made advertising much more effective by standardizing things and allowing us to blow ads out on all different sort of types of websites, like health websites, women's websites, etc. They also allow us to do different things by geography or time of day or day of week. So it makes it very easy for us to advertise. Let's talk a little bit about cookies, because again, everything is kind of based on the cookie, and that's how we're tracked out there and how we're targeted on the web. So that's what I want to make you fully aware of as well. So if no cookie is present, so let's say I go to the Hewlett-Packard website, www.hewlettpackard.com. And so I type that into my browser. And remember, cookies are browser specific. So I'm in Firefox. I type in www.hp.com. So again, HP is going to say, hey, Mr. Firefox, is there a HP cookie in your file for me? And again, Firefox might say, oh, no, I don't see one. And then HP will say, hey, can you throw this HP cookie in your folder for me, please? And keep in mind, it's just a bunch of numbers and letters. And then what HP will do is they'll remember what the person who had these bunch of numbers and letters did on their website. So they'll take note of what printers I was clicking on, etc. So if there is a cookie there, Firefox will say, oh, here it is. But keep in mind, Firefox is not going to let HP look in that folder. HP and the browser are the gatekeepers, and they do not allow these websites to access anything on our website. I mean, if you click downloads and stuff like that, all bets are off, but they're not going to let the website itself access anything on there. So Firefox will say, yep, here's the cookie, here's the number, it's 94327563. And so then HP will grab that, take it back through the web, match it up on its database, and say, the last time this person was there, they looked at these 3 printers. You know what? Let's quickly show those 3 printers on the homepage for them to try to get them to re-engage with those 3 printers. So that's, again, what the purpose of a cookie would be, again, to try to make the experience as tailored as possible to help the conversion process. So there are a few flavors of cookies. You have persistent and session-based cookies. So persistent cookies basically are there and basically are valid for about 90 days. And then you have session-based cookies. Those are there just for the session, for that time period. So again, I think a good example of a session-based cookie would be stuff where, again, you might, as you move from, so think about if you put something in your shopping cart and then you go to another page. How is the website going to remember when you're on that page what you had in the shopping cart, especially if you click on the shopping cart when you're on that page? So session-based cookies are a place where you might park information about the shopping cart and what's in the shopping cart to make the experience for you a little more efficient. It's just stuff that the website is asking the browser to store temporarily just during the session only. So as soon as you leave Hewlett-Packard, the session-based cookie gets totally wiped out. Okay. Persistent cookies are there for 90 days, totally different. It is just a series of numbers and letters. That's a unique ID that's associated with that session, basically. Okay. So again, persistent cookies can also be first-party or third-party cookies. So again, a first-party cookie is created by the website that you're visiting. A third-party cookie is really any other entity that is trying to put a cookie down on your computer, like DoubleClick. So if you go to allure.com or newyorktimes.com, Allure and New York Times will be allowed to put a first-party cookie down, and you guys all know you cannot browse the web without a first-party cookie turned on. So they will put it down as a first-party cookie, and the browser will allow you to do that. Now let's say DoubleClick is wanting to check to see if there is a cookie on there, a DoubleClick cookie, because they want to figure out if they want to retarget you for that Zappos ad, because Zappos is engaged with them. So they go to the browser and say, hey, is there a DoubleClick cookie there? And DoubleClick, and then the browser will say, oh yeah, here's your third-party cookie. Now keep in mind, a lot of you guys do have third-party cookies turned off, so if that's the case, then we can't do any retargeting through the ad networks. Now, DoubleClick would love to put their cookie down as a first-party cookie. Not going to happen. The browser will not let that happen because they'll say, no, you are not the New York Times. Sorry, you cannot put that cookie down as a first-party cookie. You can only put it down as a third-party cookie. Okay, so I hope that makes sense for you. So again, cookies are not malicious. They really can't harm your computer. There's no personally identifiable information in a cookie. It's just a unique identifier for the website owner so that when you come back again, it can look and kind of see, match it up against this database to see what you've been doing on their website to maybe make your experience better at the end of the day. All ad networks and all other entities have to use third-party cookies on the website, which means you have the option to turn it off if you want through your settings. And we all know how to drill down to find cookies on your website. Easy to do, and you can always clear out specific ones if you want. So let's talk about how it works. So when you're getting ready to do your display advertising, the publisher basically lays out a page with space for advertising per what's called the IMU, the Interactive Marketing Units. So again, the New York Times will have different spots on its website for all different size banners that can be pulled in. The publisher will insert the HTML code to do the requesting from the ad servers. They may also have restrictions of sizes, file weights, animation, things along those lines. And again, we have the Interactive Advertising Bureau that really helped a lot with making these standardized as well. So the IAB basically set all the standards for ad sizes. So again, before DoubleClick and before the IAB, again, like I said, it was pretty much of a pain to advertise out there on the different websites because there were no standards for ad sizes, and you had to go to each one almost separately. So the IAB did come in and set up some standards, and this is just a small portion of them: leaderboards, micro bars, skyscrapers, etc. And again, so whenever you're doing your advertising campaign, you'll decide which sizes you want to use. You'll do your creatives in those sizes. And then in the New York Times, if they're looking for an ad to fill, let's say a leaderboard, yours might be next on the list, and DoubleClick will serve that up for you to the New York Times, and they'll fill it in that particular spot. Again, the IAB also gives specifications for the weight and how long animation should go, etc. And again, some websites might have total restrictions. So for all I know, the AARP website might be concerned with the fact that some of their older members might still be using dial-up or slower bandwidth. So therefore, they may not want animated files at all. So you might want to create static versions of some of your ads if you want to make sure that your ads are going to be placed out there on websites which might restrict. So again, the first thing the advertiser needs to do is decide on the goal of the campaign, the target media, develop the appropriate content, then create multiple versions of the ad, like we said before. Keep in mind, as I said before, you're going to want to take consideration with respect to animation, sound, things along those lines, because those are going to have longer load times. And keep in mind, banners typically begin fatiguing after about 3 months, so you're going to want to always be in a test mode as well. Click-through rate is obviously a better metric for measuring advertising effectiveness than your impression count. I mean, impression count doesn't make any sense, but for an e-commerce site, probably still not good enough. You probably want to consider the conversion rate, actually, really. So you got your click-through and your conversion rate that you're going to be looking at. Again, you can get as creative as you want on your banner ads, but the more creative you get, the less likely you're going to be helping the conversion rate. So it's very similar to the offline world. You know, the more crazy you get with your direct mail formats and offers, hey, you might have won $1 million, open the envelope now. Chances are you might get a lot of people to open, but once they open it, it's like you're not going to get anything that's going to happen. So keep that in mind. You have that same factor here. The click-through rates for banner ads are all over the place. It can be 1/10 of a percent, 0.5 percentage point, do vary by industry. For Facebook, maybe 2/100ths to 5/100ths of a percent, but in the news feed, they can actually be as high as 7%. So again, don't shortchange Facebook. And as I said, even though click fraud's high, it might still very well P&L out. Banners, what do they cost you? $10 cents per thousand to maybe $10 per thousand impressions. I'd say on average $1 to $2 per thousand impressions. So really pretty cheap. So if you want to order 500,000 impressions, it's going to cost you at $2. It's going to cost you like $1,000. So it's really pretty cheap to roll out with a big campaign. But again, why is it so cheap? Because as we saw before, the click-through rates on that prior slide are really pretty low. If you want to get a complete listing of all the ad networks, including DoubleClick, here is a great link, and it gives them all to you. And you can see there's all sorts of niche ad networks here. You've got, I think, Dog Time Media, which just specializes in placing ads on dog pet websites. You've got, media companies that are ad networks that are just dealing with the Hispanic market. So they're all listed there. There's hundreds of them there, and it has been updated as well. Just another cool business model that's kind of there somewhat is, again, MSNBC, for example. If you advertise on their website, they will not charge you if the ad never came in view. So if the person never scrolled down far enough to see the ad, they're not going to be charged for that ad. Just an example of what a DoubleClick report looks like. Again, it's just showing you the different creative names. It's showing you basically what the dimensions are, the version, when it was created, modified. It's going to also show you, again, the number of clicks and the number of impressions as well. So just a standard report here for you monitoring your campaign. Again, just another view, again, your impressions, your click rate, total number of clicks. So again, showing you everything you need, but keep in mind those clicks are not going to match. If you look at that same source in Google Analytics, not going to match. This will be higher because, again, of the fast bounce situation. And again, here's my blog entry, which gets you into more detail on that particular issue. Lastly, just quickly, let's talk about retargeting. So I mentioned it before. I don't think I need to go into great detail, but again, it's similar to the Zappos example. Again, it's a way to recapture your shopping cart abandonees, for example, and try to pull them back into the funnel. I'll let you read these on your own.